Why did powerful rulers fear a small brotherhood hidden in the mountains? Their blades were rarely seen, yet their shadow could move armies and unmake treaties. The truth behind their legend is stranger than rumor and more disciplined than myth. My name is Charles, and today we step inside the hidden world of the Nizari assassins, the community that enemies called the Hashashin. Picture a fortress above a narrow valley. Paths coil upward. Inside the walls lives a strict society. Farmers tend orchards. Scribes copy learned texts. Recruits pass a school of silence, patience, and disguise. This is not chaos. It is a careful machine built to protect an idea and to project influence far beyond its gate. The Hashashin did not count victories by fields taken. They counted outcomes changed. They chose a figure who threatened their people, studied his habits, then acted at the moment that would alter the balance without a war. That choice alone frightened courts from Cairo to Damascus. Many missions were not about ending a life, they were about ending a decision. Agents slipped into households as pages, clerks, or guards, then delivered a warning that no one could ignore. A dagger placed beside a pillow, a short line spoken in a crowded hall. No blood was needed. The meaning was clear. We can reach you, choose a wiser path. How did recruits earn trust near to power? The answer was training, wrapped in patience. Recruits learned languages, accents, and court manners. They memorized verses to pass as scholars, learned craft skills to pass as workers, and practiced perfect calm in tense rooms. Above all, they learned restraint. The best mission ended before it began, because the target changed course. You may have heard wilder tales. Some claim the group used strange herbs to create fearless agents. Those stories come from hostile pens hungry for drama. Inside the strongholds, the discipline was simple and effective. Food, study, and exercise built bodies for long journeys. Faith, ritual, and community fixed minds on a purpose. The result was a network that crossed mountains and markets without drawing a second glance. Now step back. Why did this method reshape politics? The Brotherhood held a few strongholds and was often besieged. Raising a great army was impossible, so they turned the map sideways. Rather than hold land, they influenced decisions. They pushed governors to honor promises. They discouraged costly raids. They punished betrayals that would have cost thousands if answered with open war. Rulers learned that the quietest guard in the hall might be watching on their behalf. There is another side to the legend. The Hashashin were not wild fanatics. Their leaders were scholars who prized treaties and toleration within their valleys. They taught law and theology. They negotiated truces with taller neighbors. When talks failed, they used the smallest lever that could move a stubborn will. That saved lives, including those of their own families who could not survive endless campaigns. Public theater also mattered. When a message needed speed, an act was staged in daylight where many eyes could see. Across the courts of the region, the same quiet line was heard. You are reachable, keep your word. How did such a web avoid collapse? The answer lies in layers. Local circles had their own guides. Couriers knew only the next stop. Fortresses kept stores and libraries so that even under siege the mind of the movement endured. When one leader fell, the mission continued because training had made many calm hands, and because choices were made slowly and together. Enemies soon borrowed their tools. Rival princes hired informants who learned to think in terms of leverage rather than conquest. Merchants echoed the lesson to guard caravans. Storytellers repeated the name with fear and respect, and the echo itself guarded the valleys. Reputation did half the work before any agent crossed a gate. In a moment, we will explore how the Mountain Order finally met an enemy that patience could not deter, and which fragments of their method still shape strategy today. Carry this idea as we continue. Their sharpest weapon was not a blade, it was time, focus, and the calm belief that one well-chosen choice can move the world. The most revealing way to understand this Mountain Order is to watch how they selected a mission. They did not chase noise. They listened for patterns, a ruler who broke promises, a commander whose raids endangered their valleys, a minister who poisoned negotiations. Only when quiet remedies failed did the Brotherhood move, one life altered to spare many. That principle guided a web of couriers, scholars, gardeners, and traders who all served the same calm aim. Inside the strongholds, daily life would surprise you. Terraces stepped down the slopes with fruit trees and irrigated beds. Water channels fed mills and kitchens. A scriptorium copied works of law, theology, philosophy, and natural study. Initiates learned to argue politely, to sit still for hours, and to tell the truth with as few words as possible. They trained the body as well, because a long climb or a quick escape was part of the craft. This balance of mind and muscle made agents that no border guard noticed and no court could easily read. Reputation did much of their work. Courts knew that the Mountain Order punished betrayal with precision. Governors who woke to a warning blade laid by a bed or a note pinned to a cushion seldom forgot the message. In markets, whispers traveled faster than horses. "You are reachable, keep your word." That sentence saved caravans. It kept smaller communities alive across harsh seasons, when open war would have emptied fields and burned orchards. Their discipline produced a striking paradox. They were feared for silence, yet they survived by dialogue. Their leaders preferred treaties that recognized their valleys and let trade flow. When rivals honored terms, the mountains were good neighbors. When oaths broke, a single stone shifted at the top of a slope could start an avalanche. That is why princes who mocked them in council still lowered their voices when the hall grew quiet. You may wonder how a network relying on secrecy could last across generations. The answer was structure. Each circle knew only its next link. Messages were sealed by habit as much as by wax. Strongholds stored grain for years, kept spare tools for sieges, and hid archives that could be moved at a night's notice. When a guide fell, another stepped in. Trained for calm hands and clear speech, the design was not flamboyant, it was resilient. There were limits. A power rose that cared nothing for precision. It answered messages with walls of men and towers of timber, with engineers who moved mountains by force. The order bargained, it delayed, it used the same patience that had preserved it for decades. In the end, siege engines tore stone from stone, libraries burned, and valley gates were opened by hunger rather than by argument. Precision met hunger and lost. Yet the story did not end at a ruined gate. Members scattered, many as scholars, artisans and officials, whose skills fit neatly into new courts. The method survived without the name. Influence through leverage. Deterrence by reputation. Patience as a weapon. These ideas migrated into the habits of spies, border captains, merchant guilds, and city governors. Even their enemies kept the lesson. Keep your promises, or you will pay a price you cannot predict. Over time, tales grew around them. Some chroniclers, eager to please patrons or entertain, embroidered the truth with lurid color, strange potions, wild initiations, daring feats performed under the spell of fantasies. Those stories stuck because they thrilled the ear. The quieter reality is more impressive. A small community used discipline and thought to stand in the path of larger powers and make those powers negotiate. Consider one of their most effective moves. An agent enters a crowded reception room as a minor clerk, delivers a folded line to a treasurer, and vanishes. The line contains no threat, only the names of 2 private meetings held in rooms that were meant to be secure. The treasurer understands. The next day, the governor rescinds a raid and reopens talks. No blade drawn, no soldier lost. A map changed because a message arrived at the right time from the right hand. There is a larger lesson here for any age. Force is costly, precision is elegant. If you can change a decision at the top, you can save 1,000 families the cost of a burned harvest. The Mountain Order believed that restraint served both strategy and conscience. They were not saints, they were not monsters. They were craftsmen of influence who tried to use the smallest hammer that would move the nail. What remains when the smoke of legend clears is a method. Build communities that can endure pressure. Train minds to be patient. Gather information until a target presents itself in plain daylight. Prefer a warning over a wound. When words fail, act once, cleanly, then be silent. Let reputation carry the rest. The truth behind the Hashashin is therefore not an exotic haze, but a set of clear practices. Choose leverage over spectacle. Protect your home by shaping the choices that threaten it. Understand that fear spreads faster than fire, and that trust, once earned, can guard a valley better than any wall. So when you hear the whispered name that frightened courts, look past the tales of smoke and dreams. Remember the orchards, the libraries, the couriers on narrow paths, the quiet knock on a door at dawn. Remember a small brotherhood that learned how to bend the course of power with patience. Their sharpest blade was focus. Their longest reach was time.